Hello, ladies. My name is Gigi from Tech News 180, and I'm here today with Anjali and Julia, and we will be discussing the new podcast, Character Select, that launched this week. Congratulations.
Thank
This
you.
podcast invites guests from the gaming industry to talk about what goes into the most memorable video game performances and more. So earlier, I just saw the news that Character Select hit some milestones for the first week. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we hit number 4 in the US and the UK on Apple Podcasts in the games category, and then number 4 in US and Canada, and number 2 in the UK.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's good for the first week as well.
Yeah, not so bad. That was the day after we launched, and I think we both, this is such a labor of love and such like our little baby, that to know that people actually want to really want to listen to it makes it even that much more special.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've been working on it for quite some time. So being able to see people receive it is so nice.
Mm-hmm.
So what inspired you to come up with the concept of Character Select as a podcast?
We had a wonderful experience where we were both asked to be on the jury for the BAFTA Games Awards to help narrow down the long list of nominees for the best supporting performance in a game. And so 6 a.m. both of us unexpectedly ended up on the same Zoom, very happily on the same Zoom. And the conversation that ensued with all of the different people there, from all different walks of like all different lanes in game creation, was so deep and respectful and intuitive and interesting. It blew us both away. Like things were being talked about in terms of how they affected someone's performance and made it easier or harder for them to give this extraordinary performance. There were definitely things that I would never have thought of from a technical standpoint that other people were talking about. So we immediately got off the phone, and I mean, we immediately got off the Zoom and on the phone, and we're like, we need to have this conversation always in front of people, because I think a lot of people think that in game performances that it's just about the performance of the actor, either embodying that role or voicing that role, but there is so much more that goes into that, and it goes into that way before the actors even show up. We are just I say this a lot in all media, that we actors are just like kind of a cog in the wheel, but the amazing things that get done before and after we show up are huge.
And the reverence, I think, that everybody had for the performances, I think that it's so rare that the actors and the fans can see that the developers have the same kind of energy and love for what they're creating, for what their peers are creating. And it was just a big old love fest, which is what we turned the Character Select podcast into. So
Beautiful.
And I love Character Select. The name Character Select was Julia's idea, and I love it so much because it's not just about the character that you're playing. It's what builds a character, what aspects go into discovering who the essence of that character is, and it's just a really fun name. So.
And how do you believe your diverse backgrounds in acting and casting direction will kind of shape the conversations and insights in the podcast?
I think both of us just have a love of other creators. I think that's the biggest thing. One thing that is so clear about Julia, whether you are auditioning for her, whether you are talking to her about making a game and trying to connect you with other people, or whether you're reading her book about acting in the art and business of acting for video games. Whatever you are doing with Julia, it is very clear that she is there, A, to be of service, and B, to be excited. She gets so excited about things. And I think that's something we very much have in common. So we're both very curious. And I think that goes into both acting and casting, that if you can't really do it if you don't have a wonder and a curiosity about this thing that you're creating and about the people who are creating it. So I think that specifically, because it really is about asking the right questions of our extraordinary guests, not necessarily giving our opinions all the time, but really just picking their brains to see what What makes them tick? What do they contribute to the performances that they contribute to? And also, tell us about this. Tell us about the ones you love and why, so we can all enjoy that.
And even knowing just some of these people exist, because a lot of people who make the games that you love the most are not necessarily out there advertising themselves or being kind of interviewed or talked to, because they are usually only talking to like the head of the game and stuff like that when they're interviewing. So just kind of trying to bring some light also into the different jobs that come in. That said, with our backgrounds, I do think that it's hard to look at the top podcasts and video games and not notice that there aren't a ton of women there. And especially, women who are working in the industry. And so it's really nice, I think, to have a fresh perspective on that side as well, because we deserve seeing, the different ways that people see things. So I'm happy to be there.
And I also think like it's super cool that you guys are giving a platform for, the people who are in behind the scenes to actually talk about, what they do for work. And a lot of these people actually love and enjoy their work, and they would love to talk about it for hours. So that's really cool.
And not only, and yes, and not only that, they love games, period.
Yeah.
They are the people you want to be talking about this, because they play them, they make them, they live them, they breathe them. Even the actors that we have brought on this season, most of them are gamers and were gamers before they were performers.
Yeah.
I myself was a gamer as a little girl until I tried to be more serious and did what I call the dark days of gaming. And then when I came back to video games, and they were so full of just like these extraordinary performances and these extraordinary stories and graphics and everything, you can't help but just love the artistry and the virtuosity that goes into them. So getting developers and casting directors and performance directors and getting those people to talk about these performances is just, it's delicious.
Yeah. So with both of your backgrounds encompassing, the work in action and superhero themed projects, how do you see the gaming industry and film influencing each other?
Oh, I think they are indelibly linked now. There's the toothpaste is out of the tube. I mean, people have been trying for many, many years to, I think, adapt video games and the mythology of video games into movies. But I feel like we have begun to crack the code a little bit more now, because people have realized, oh, if there is performance capture in a video game, that's a movie. Like the actors and the creators who are making this thing are treating it like a movie. It just happens to have 600 different ways it can go. So the technology is indelibly linked. I think with shows and movies like The Last of Us or Fallout, all of these things that are having tremendous success now, we are seeing that you can take something in this medium and make something completely unique in the other, and go back and forth between the two, and still have reverence and still have an extraordinary story that people want to engage with. I know as an actor, I don't treat them very differently. In fact, in performance capture, Julia and I did a piece for the LA Times, and one of the things that we remarked on is that really performance capture is almost more like theater, because you have to give that performance in 360. And there's no angle of yours, whether you like it or not, there's no angle of yours that is not being filmed. So that connection between all those media is very, very tight.
That's so cool. And Julia, as a casting director, what do you look for when you're casting such roles? Like, is there a combination of things, or is there one specific trait that you're looking for that should stand out?
I don't know if you can read it.
What does it say?
It says, don't be a dick.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We talk about this all the time. I say this to new actors or classes that I teach. She does the same thing. I'm like, there are 3 rules: be on time, be prepared, don't be a dick. Everything else is objective.
Yeah, I mean, specifically for me, the first question is going to be, is it VO only, or is there going to be a performance capture or motion capture capture aspect, as that changes the types of people we're looking for. It doesn't necessarily rule people out. It more just opens up the pool if they want people who are kind of have backgrounds outside of VO. And then from there, we're looking for talent who can bring their unique perspective to the role. I think one of the misconceptions is that we actually know what we're looking for when we're casting, and especially in games, because so much has yet to be decided, created. Even a script isn't typically written at that stage. The casting sides are written specifically for casting. And so somebody has, an actor has so much opportunity to bring their unique perspective to a role. And we're looking for your version of that in order to sell us on whatever that role is. And then you get to infuse your personality and your unique kind of background and perspective on life into a role that we didn't quite know exactly what we were looking for until we saw it.
Beautiful. And Anjali, you had roles on screen and in providing voiceovers for these games. So how do you prepare for these parts, and what's the process for this?
Well, it's a little bit more involved if it is for performance capture, because then you are just like a film or just like a play. You are memorizing your lines. You're making sure you have the physicality of the character really down. With voiceover, there is a lot less preparation than I think anyone would think. You may, if you're lucky, you have a chance to have a conversation with the director and the team about the character and stuff. But usually, because these are so under wraps and we're trying to keep things very secret so that the community doesn't know about them ahead of time, sometimes you'll walk into a voiceover session not even knowing what game you're doing or what character you're playing until you get there. So a lot of it is improvisation, or at least just thinking on your feet when you get there. Maybe not improv, but just being able to jump right into that very quickly and grab onto the touchstones that make this character who they are. Performance capture, it is full. It's like I said, it's like doing a film, only you're wearing a bodysuit that is universally unflattering on all people.
I bet filming it is like super fun as well.
It is. It's also, and again, with that as well, there is an element of just having to think on your feet, because so many of the things in the room are not there that are going to be there in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You may be drinking out of a cup that's a wooden piece of wood or something, and then they're going to fill in what the cup is, or different items. Like over here, you guys got to be prepared. This is a wall, and this is a door, and so there's a lot of theater of the mind going on when that's happening. But it's so much fun, because when you are there with your other actors, there's so much trust that goes into it. And so much trust that goes into knowing that the creative team is going to create the world around you to make this look as amazing as they are. So knowing that you can come in and do your job to the best of your ability, and then everybody else is going to come together and make it the thing that it is. It's very exciting, and it requires a lot of trust. It requires a lot of faith in yourself and in the other people on the team.
Yeah, there's so much camaraderie.
Yeah.
It's almost like a play, in that after you're done, that you feel like you made something together, which isn't really the case necessarily with voiceover, because you're usually a bit disjointed. You're recording those sessions separate from other people. There's less of a family feel.
Yeah.
Speaking of video games, so if you could step into the shoes of any video game character for a day, who would you choose and why?
Oh, that's so hard. I'm really bad at favorites. It's like picking your favorite child. I can't do it. I need you to go first, Julia, because I need to go first.
I will go first.
Okay, you go first.
I'm not really a video game person per se, but I do admit that I've done played The Sims for 10 hours straight.
Yeah.
The Sims, so I would have to say, one of those characters and just stand in front of a refrigerator for an hour, just
I love that answer.
In that refrigerator, just having fun.
My brain is going straight to like the first thing I was like, oh, I could definitely be Mario. Like I could do that. But my brain is like, no, there's some really cool superpowers and like which one of those would I want? And like definitely I'm like part of me is going like Bayonetta maybe or like a Mirror's Edge or something like that. Something where there's a badass chick doing some sweet moves.
I hope this doesn't sound as self-serving as I'm worried, but I'm so in love with Symmetra.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, she has the superpower that I have always wanted, because I have always wanted to be able to teleport. The amount of things that I could get done in a day, if I could teleport and no one else could, I would be like, I think I'm busy now. I would be able to like so much stuff. It would be so fantastic. So, and I love the fact that she and I both run around in high heels very functionally. So I feel very connected. It is a superpower one can have in real life. But I also really love her sort of view of the world, her vision of her mission in life, because she has taken all of the things that have been obstacles in her way or challenges in her way and added them as fuel to the fire of making the world a better place. Whether or not she's aligned with this right company for that, because hopefully someday she's going to figure out that those are not the greatest people, but she wants to make a better world, primarily because of what she experienced when she was younger. And I think that's a wonderful way to go through life, is to not see that as something that determines your future, but something that can fuel you to make a better future.
And it's also amazing that, you know, these are just video game characters, but they have such intricate storylines, and they have like, there's actually a plot that you follow, and it's relatable, and it's something that you can really appreciate. You know, you can thank the people who are working behind this for creating such an amazing storyline for this kind of character.
And I do think games are actually influencing film and television in a tremendous way in that lane, because I think games were ahead of film and television in terms of taking people from historically underrepresented communities, whether it was culturally, whether it was their gender, whether it was their sexual orientation, whatever it was. Historically, those roles have not necessarily been as complex. We haven't seen them as fully formed, unique human beings that are not just defined by that one part of their personality or that one part of who they are. In games, that started happening a lot faster and a lot more prevalently than it has in film. Film and TV is definitely catching up. People are starting to realize that you are more than the color of your skin, or more than your gender, or more than, you know, all more than one thing. But these unique, incredible stories, we've had the freedom to put them in games for years.
And representation as well, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's really fun. And I say this a lot, that one of the things I love about games in particular, and about the characters in games, is that when someone plays a game and they can identify with the hero that they're playing for any reason, whatever they grab onto, then they can take that power, that hero that they feel like they are in the game, and walk out into the world with that sense of empowerment. That's a sense of agency and being able to affect your future and affect the fate, and sometimes affects the fate of the universe. And that empowerment cannot be underestimated. It is something very, very special. I experienced it as an 8-year-old little brown girl in Orange County, California, and it really did define what I believed was possible.
Amazing. And so, lastly, sorry for the last question, but I really love this. What should people look forward to the most about the podcast?
Oh, I have one thing.
Go ahead.
I love listening to people gush about other people's work. There is this weird misconception about the entertainment industry that people are backstabbing, or that people don't support each other. And I've never once experienced that in my entire almost 3 decades long career. People are so supportive. People love watching other people's work. People love just talking about the intricacies of what other people are doing. And one of a very unexpected joy that I had when we launched the podcast was thinking about, oh, wow, all of the people who created these roles are going to hear someone else talking about how much they loved it, and specifically why. They'll be talking for like 30 minutes about like why this was such an incredible, iconic performance. And there is something so just something so fulfilling about knowing that someone who has to do the same thing that you are doing or works in the same field really gets the work that you put into it. And that is very, very, very special. When we got a message from David Hayter to thank Matthew Mercer for breaking down his performance in such a thoughtful and caring and respectful way, that's the part
That's everything.
that's everything. I love that. That enthusiasm is priceless.
And for me, I'm just so excited. I've been working in games for 20 years, and there's so many talented people. I'm just so excited to introduce the talent and what goes into making games to kind of the general public, because I think it's been there are areas to access that information, but not necessarily like in a digestible and fun way. And so I'm really excited to kind of bring the idea of what goes into games and making amazing performances out to people and the people who make them.
Well, that's beautiful. And I'm also excited for, well, now after this, I'm definitely gonna listen to the podcast. And I'm also excited for, the future of the character select as a whole and to you guys. And so thank you so much for this interview. Thank you so much for, agreeing to do this at 8:30 in the morning.
Happy to.
It's so early, but thank you so much, ladies, and congratulations on the launch of your podcast. And I wish you guys all the best.
Thank you
Thank you so much.
So much.